Welcome back to Niquie's Book Nook. Today I'm going to review a book called Interned by Pamela Rushby. Can you believe that this book was published in 2022, more than 100 years after the story takes place? This book is set in Singapore and Australia in the First World War from 1914 to 1919. I really liked how historic this book was, and it told me a lot about World War I. During the First World War, Germans in Australia were considered enemy aliens. The two main characters, Greta and Tilly, had a funny relationship because Greta was German and Tilly was Australian. When they meet up in the middle of the book, there's sort of a funny relationship between them because there's two countries are fighting against each other. There's lots of highs and lows in the book. One of the most shocking moments happens in chapter 20, when Tilly loses someone very close to her forever. Another one of the most shocking moments is when Greta is just waiting for her ride back to her house when her father gets taken away, and she has no idea where he's going, and she has no idea when she'll see him again, and that, for me, was heartbreaking. I can't even imagine how I would feel if my dad got taken away. One of my favorite things about books is how they take you in and grab you with the storyline. When I was reading this book, I felt like I was transported back into the turn of the 20th century of Australia. In this book, it's very unusual, actually, because every chapter we're in a different country. The first chapter we're in Singapore, the second chapter we're in Australia, then Singapore, then Australia, and then it just goes on and on and on. Greta's storyline takes place in Singapore, and Tilly's storyline takes place in Australia, until they both end up in the same place, and that's how their storyline comes together. When they meet, they're a bit unsure of each other because in the war, they're both fighting against each other. That's why they have a funny relationship, because they're like, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to like her since my country is fighting against her country. In the end, they decide that it doesn't matter, let's just be friends. We like each other. It's a story about two girls who are caught in a war, and even though their countries are fighting against each other, they still become friends. I love this story so much, and I would give it 8 hearts out of 10. If you love historical stories and you'd like to learn more about World War I, head to your local library or bookstore and check out Interned by Pamela Rushby. Can't wait to see you on the next Niquie's Book Nook review.